Harry makes a surprise appearance on British television, and the royal world reacts to a new season of The Crown.
But I have found women in general tend not to be suited to high office.
Oh, why is that?
Well, they become too emotional.
I doubt you'll have that trouble with me.
Duchess Kate gives us a sneak peek inside Kensington Palace as Carol Middleton opens up about how the Cambridge kids are helping her decorate for Christmas.
Well, one's for the service, one's for Afghanistan, and one's for Iraq.
Are those your daddy's medals?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's very special you're wearing them.
Plus, Elizabeth Holmes joins us to break down the royal style rules in honor of her new book, HRH, So Many Thoughts on Royal Style.
Because you look at that wedding dress and you can place it, right? It is an 80s dress. It is big, it is poofy, it was wrinkled, it was kind of a mess. And it was, I think a 20-year-old girl's idea of what a princess should dress like.
We've got that plus so much more in today's Royally Us. Hello to our fellow royal lovers and welcome to Royally Us. I'm Christina, that's Molly Mulshine, the host of the Diva Behavior Podcast. Hi, Molly.
Hi, Christina. How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing good. Keeping busy binging The Crown.
I know. We have a lot to get to on that, but first we have to check in with our royal viewers, our royal watchers, who had a lot to say about last week's show. All right, let's kick it off with English Rose says, Harry knows very well that wreaths are laid at the cenotaph on Remembrance Sunday on behalf of the different branches and regiments of the armed forces, civilian organizations, and countries. No one lays personal wreaths. Of course, this was last week after we said that the palace denied Harry requesting to lay a wreath on his behalf.
Right. I think, we talked about this last week about how, there's the official way of doing things, and then there's the kind of good PR way of doing things. Right. And probably the good PR way of doing things would have been to let Harry be part of it because he was in the armed forces. So it's just a question of how you want to handle it.
Exactly. Dee Dee says, even though Harry is not a senior or working royal, he is still a grandson, son, and brother. There is no excuse for the royal family disrespect. The royal family choosing business over family says a lot about their integrity, which kind of piggybacks off of what you just said. I mean, it's a story now we're still talking about a week later, and if they just laid a wreath on his behalf, it would have been done.
Right. And we did get word that it may not have been the Queen's decision. Right. She may not have known that this request of Harry's was denied, but the optics are that they were being sticklers. So
that is true. We'll see. We'll see. All right. Kim Bella says, I doubt Queen Elizabeth will step down. We doubt it too.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any denying that one.
No debate there.
Definitely. All right. Well, it's time for our royal roundup, our royal news of the week, and we have a lot to get to. So let's kick it off with the Queen hiring a new right-hand man, right?
Yes. So the Queen has hired a new equerry, which we learned from Robert Lacey a few weeks ago is somebody who is sort of her right-hand man. It's someone who gets her tea for her and just sort of hangs out with her all the time, which, fun fact, Camilla Parker Bowles' ex-husband used to be the Queen's equerry. So the way that web works,
seriously, that is a lot of different, that is a big family tree here.
Yeah, very entangled. So the person who she selected is from the Royal Marines, which is the branch that Harry used to be in charge of before he left via Megxit. And his name is Major Tom White.
Very cool. And so what did Royal Marine sources say about this?
They said that this is deeply significant. They used those exact words. And they were saying that this is something that sort of shows the Royal Marines that the royal family still has, not a soft spot for them, but the royal family is still looking out for them and endorsing them and everything. And it's just sort of showing that they always have a place among the royal ranks.
What a cool job.
I know. It would be really fun. I wish I had an equerry.
Seriously, I could use one right about now.
Yeah.
Must be fun. All right. Well, sources are also saying that the Queen feels more confident than ever in William and Kate after the dramatic years the royals have had. We've got reporting on this as well, that she is really confident in everything that William and Kate have been doing, especially during COVID, and how they really stepped up in Harry and Meghan's absence. So, I mean, why else was this year so stressful for them?
I mean, there was not only Meghan and Harry leaving for LA, but there was also everything with Prince Andrew, which you know, although it seems to have died down, I don't think it's going to die down forever. It's just that there hasn't been any new news in a while, but that's something that's always going to be sort of a thorn in the royal family's side, I think. And of course, there was COVID and everything like that. So it has been a very stressful year for so many people, including the royal family. And you know, William and Kate, I don't think there's been a single scandal or moment of questionable press for them this year. So it makes sense.
I feel like there never really is. They really just kind of fly under the radar when it comes to scandals. And in that respect, I mean, they really just kind of keep it by the book. And I think that's why probably the Queen is so confident in them, because they just follow the royal rule book.
Right. There were some stories early on saying that the Queen was a little bit questioning of Kate's work ethic, because before she got engaged to William, you know, right after college, she didn't really have a job. She was just sort of floating along in that sort of post-grad malaise that a lot of people,
like we all do.
Yeah. So that was a little bit of a hiccup in their relationship early on, reportedly. And now it seems like Kate has more than proven herself in terms of hard work.
Oh, definitely. She is one busy, busy woman. All right, let's move on to, well, let's continue to talk about Kate, because she actually, a lot of people were talking about this, gave us a inside look, a very, very inside look, a little sneak peek of Kensington Palace when she was doing a virtual chat this week, right?
Yes, it was so great. We got to see the pictures that she has hanging up. She was talking to veterans in honor of Remembrance Sunday. And yeah, it really looks like such a classic setup. They've got, you know, these paintings of an oceanscape and like photos of the kids. It's a timeless look, I would say.
It is a timeless look, and it's nice to see which family photos make the cut. It's very cute.
Yeah, interesting that they were kind of photos that we've seen before.
Right.
Maybe they did the ones that we haven't seen because they didn't want to give anyone a scoop. But
yeah, and a lot of those photos are the ones that Kate has taken herself. So very cool, very cool. All right, let's move on to Harry, because he was all smiles this past Saturday when he made a virtual appearance on the UK's Strictly Come Dancing.
You know that your vision going into the games was to take this cohort of individuals and send them off so that they could have an impact on society.
You're definitely having an impact on society now, especially when you're wearing those tight blue shorts.
They're actually core pattern, that's what they are.
Those the shoes.
These are the shiny ones.
Look at that. And the socks pulled up. It doesn't get better than that.
Was this a surprise?
Yes, it was a total surprise. And it's funny, this is the second time that one of the Sussexes has surprised us with a reality competition show appearance. I guess they are, you know, royals. They're just like us. They're loving these shows in lockdown. So he made a surprise cameo to cheer on his Invictus Games medalist friend, JJ Chalmers.
Yeah, I love that. So, and he has a close relationship with him. So obviously he wanted to lend his support. So that's pretty cool. I mean, like you said, a couple months back, Meghan did this on America's Got Talent, where she supported somebody on the show as well. So yes, like you said, they're probably just at home binging reality TV like the rest of us.
Yeah, it's funny. I love that this is a trend for them.
Yeah, totally. All right. Meanwhile, Duchess Kate has released a video to mark the wrap up of her Hold Still photography exhibit. We've talked about this a few times. She really put in the work over the past few months with this Hold Still campaign, and it became wildly successful.
I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone who submitted an image to Hold Still.
Yes, and she emphasized in her video marking the wrap up of the campaign that it really helped her see how everyone is coming together to help each other during the lockdown. And, you know, this project is all about doing that too, because it's about her sort of passing the mic or passing the camera to other people so that she can sort of shine a light on what they're doing. So
yeah, definitely. And these have been turned into murals around London. A lot of people, you know, get to see these on billboards as well. So it's great that a lot of these photographs are being shown to everybody so everybody can enjoy them.
Yeah, really nice. And it's definitely got to be a great line on your resume if you are a photographer to say, I was picked by the Duchess of Cambridge.
Seriously, definitely. All right, now it is time to spill the royalty. And we have been waiting a long, long time for season 4 of The Crown. And of course, insiders have a lot to say, and they aren't too thrilled about this new season, which premiered over this past weekend. So what are royal insiders saying?
So the British press has been buzzing for the last few days. They need to do some sort of Diana revenge dress moment to get the attention off of the crown and back onto the actual royal family.
Yeah.
But so the sources who are close to the royal family have called this season trolling with $1 million budget. They've said that Netflix is using the royal family for a profit, and that it's not, what they're showing isn't accurate, and that it's not fair, because obviously what they show this season is the love triangle between Prince Charles, Princess Diana, and Camilla Parker Bowles.
Interesting. I mean, I haven't gotten too far into this season yet, so I can't say too much, but I mean, Robert Lacey, who was on the show, he is a consultant on the Crown. So they do have royal historians there. Yes, they do stretch the truth maybe a little bit for entertainment purposes, but I don't think it's way off the mark. Do you?
No, based on what I've seen, and I've read a lot of books about Diana, and it just, a lot of what they're showing checks out. It's actually closer to real life than you might think it would have been, because I think they knew that this season was going to be hugely popular. Yeah. They knew that people were going to be putting a microscope to it and calling out if things were inaccurate or false. And I just haven't really seen anything yet that was a truly inaccurate.
Right.
Season.
Was there anything surprising to you so far that you didn't know before?
From the show?
I don't think I knew that Charles dated Diana's sister.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that was out there. I just didn't know. Like, that wasn't like something that like pops up very often. So I think maybe that might be surprising to a lot of people as well.
Yeah, that was really surprising for people. I knew about that from a book that I read, and I just couldn't believe it. But I think, prior to Kate Middleton, the royal family was less likely to marry quote unquote commoners. Right. Mm-hmm. So if you're only going to be marrying aristocratic British people, that's a really small dating pool.
Yeah.
So I guess it kind of makes sense. I don't know.
I wonder what Harry and Meghan must think about this, because obviously they have this gigantic Netflix deal. The Crown airs on Netflix. So it is a little bit of a conflict, I would imagine.
Yeah. I mean, it must be awkward for them, because the royal family is going to be, enduring some bad press for this. And they're just going to, they are in business with Netflix, the network that's putting this out. So yeah, that's got to be a pretty uncomfortable position to be in.
Yeah. And then I think the Crown is only doing one more season after this. And then they're done. When they originally said that they were going to do 6 seasons, I wonder if Harry and Meghan joining Netflix had anything to do with that, because they don't want to get too close to present day, I would imagine.
The timing was really interesting, because first they announced that they were going to stop at 4 seasons. And when they did that, I thought to myself, okay, they're trying to get someone from the royal family to do something with them. And they're realizing that the longer they keep the Crown going, the less likely that is. So then the Harry and Meghan deal came through. And then I'm pretty sure after that, they announced that they were going to do one more season of the Crown.
Yeah.
So that is a fascinating timeline to me. I feel like those two things have to have been related.
They really do. I feel like they have to be, because we've heard, going back seasons, that the royal family was not too happy with the Crown at all, from day one. So, and like you said, this is probably the most controversial season that they're going to have. So I imagine that he's going to put the kibosh on that one.
And it's kind of surprising to me that they don't appreciate the representation they're getting on the Crown, because if you read some of the, more objective books about royal history, they're being painted in a pretty good light.
Yeah, no, definitely.
They could have definitely gone into some way more scandalous things that they have not done. So, I mean, I would say this is the best case scenario for them. And especially maybe when Gary Janetti's show comes out, they'll start to appreciate the Crown a little more.
Seriously, I think so. Well, next week, once we have a chance to fully digest the Crown, we're going to break it down a little bit more, because we're going to be talking about this for weeks to come, definitely. But now we're going to move on to breaking down the royal rules. And to help us do it this week is author Elizabeth Holmes, who just wrote the brand new book, HRH, So Many Thoughts on Royal Style. We are so excited about this. Now, her new book explores and analyzes the most iconic fashion moments from Queen Elizabeth, Princess Diana, Kate Middleton, and Meghan Markle. Take a look.
Why do you think it is that we are so obsessed with royal fashion?
Well, gosh, I mean, for me, I think it taps into this like very deep-seated, raised on Disney princess movies kind of inclination where you see these women that are part of, a real life fairy tale, right? In so many ways, there's so few people in this world. I mean, there's obviously a lot of famous people, but there's so few royal women, and the choices that they make and sort of the expectations surrounding them, I think is a big part of it because, they're not, just celebrities on a red carpet. They don't get to choose, what they want or even get to talk all that much. I mean, what they do is in service to the crown. And so they're sort of fulfilling, all these expectations of all of us all around the world. And I think it's just kind of fascinating.
Let's do some little royal fanfic for a moment. If Diana had remarried, what do you think her dress would have looked like? Do you think it would have looked similar to her first wedding dress?
No, I think she learned a lot from when she was engaged to certainly later in her life after her divorce. I think she learned a lot about fashion because you look at that wedding dress and you can place it, right? It is an 80s dress. It is big. It is poofy. It was wrinkled. It was kind of a mess. And it was, I think a 20-year-old girl's idea of what a princess should dress like, right? And I remember looking at it growing up being like, oh my word, like what is that? But she got it. I mean, the more she did in her royal life, I think the more that she understood what worked for her, what worked for her body, what sort of image she wanted to project. And later in her life, after she got divorced, she was much more, serious about her fashion and wanted to be taken much more seriously. And if you look at later, she befriended several designers, including Versace, and she's wearing these much sleeker, right, monochromatic looks. And I do think that if she were to have gotten married again, we would have seen her in something much more streamlined than her first one.
Definitely. Did she pay attention to the fashion critics? And like, if she ever made a fashion misstep, was she kind of looking to see what people had to say about her?
Yeah. And I think that's really commendable, because obviously their public brand is a big part of their currency here. And so she read, the reviews of what she was wearing and she took that to heart. She started, she understood, you can see as she goes on, she understood a little bit more what looks really good on her, what stands out, what makes for a good picture. And, again, the line from the royals today is, we don't read social media, we don't pay attention to any of that stuff. But I think, certainly the Queen and Diana in those early days did. And I think that's an important part. You are there to present yourself to the public. It's important to know what the public thinks.
Right.
Did Diana ever break any royal fashion rules?
Oh my gosh, yes. And in sort of wonderful form. I think a lot of these royal fashion rules, it's important to remember, are not written down anywhere. There's nobody that's decreeing like what color nail polish you can wear or whether you should wear pantyhose to events. They're sort of unspoken and unwritten. And, this idea of formality is really important in the royal family. And so with that in mind, I think when Diana would step out, especially later in life, she wore a lot more short cocktail length dresses to evening events. That's not something you see traditionally from the royal family. She wore red nail polish. Again, there's no rule against it, but we don't see it very often. And I think it was really exciting, or a bright lip. So there were just ways that she sort of asserted her independence and her boldness, I think, through her fashion.
Do you ever think that Kate felt a little bit of fashion pressure when Meghan came along? Did you notice her style kind of change at all, or did she always remain true to herself?
No, I think so. I mean, I definitely think so. I think Kate sort of kicked up her fashion game in the fall of 2018. Certainly after the royal wedding of Harry and Meghan, Kate had just had Louis and she went away on maternity leave for a couple months and came back and was suddenly, had a little bit more fashion in her wardrobe. And, again, it's impossible to say what inspired that. If it could be, just sort of bouncing back after having a baby, or, that she was working with some new fashion advisors. But I do think that Meghan on the scene sort of made everything more exciting for both of them. And I love that Kate kind of stepped up her game.
Yeah, definitely.
That's great. Who, in your opinion, had the best royal wedding dress?
Oh my gosh. Well, if I had to choose one, I would choose Kate, because that was, I started watching the royal family in 2011. That's when they got married. That's when I was getting married. I was planning my own wedding and I got so swept up. It was, I remember it so well. And when she stepped out of the car in that McQueen gown, I just gasped. I still remember it. And I think what what she did with that dress is somehow maintain her relatability. It wasn't a huge dress like Diana's, she didn't get out of a glass coach. But it was so suitably regal, I mean, the lace sleeves, the full skirt, the slight bustle, the tiara, I think what she did with that dress and that look and how it was fitting of a future queen consort without sort of overwhelming her the way that Princess Diana's did, I think was really special. And I think will certainly stand the test of time. Not, Diana, again, you look at that dress and you know when it's from. I think Kate's is a little bit more timeless.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is probably an impossible question, but out of all the royal looks, do you have a favorite? Or the one that like the first thing that kind of pops to your mind?
I think a lot about this plaid suit that Diana wore. It's a skirt suit. And like, again, a plaid suit is so predictable for royal. It's so proper and fittingly sort of English. But it had these big shoulder pads and she had this huge waist, the belt, just a really wide belt at the waist. And it was just so exciting. She made everything so exciting. And I wish I had been old enough to follow her in real time because I find her fashion filled with the most meaning.
Definitely. Well, actually, then one more biggest fashion misstep in the royal family of all time.
Oh my gosh. I mean, again, Diana, she really went for it a couple of times. And I think, when you do that, you have some hits or misses. My favorite story is that she wore this big plaid coat on a tour of Italy in 1985. And it was widely panned and it turned up at a consignment shop, that coat. But I think it was Fergie's mom who took it there. It was like she clearly put it in a pile and was like, not going to wear that again. But she wore it with this very large, wide-brimmed hat, and it sort of swallowed her up. And you have some hits and misses, right?
Well, the person that picked that up at the consignment shop is probably pretty lucky.
Yeah. I think it's worked its way back to some royal archives, thankfully.
Sure. Well, Elizabeth, thank you so much for taking so much time and talking with us. Congratulations on HRH. It's such a wonderful read, and I know fashion lovers and
thank you.
definitely love it.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Such a fun book and such a great conversation. We can talk royal style for hours and days.
Yeah. Oh my God. Absolutely. And the book is so pretty and just beautiful. It's a great Christmas gift for anybody.
It really is a great table book. Definitely. All right. Well, let's move on to our royal history moment of the week. Prince Charles and Camilla visited Germany, and Charles gave a historic speech about the bond between the UK and Germany. And he was doing all of this in the midst of his 72nd birthday.
Right. I mean, what a way to spend your birthday. I guess it is a good way to sneak in a little birthday trip under the COVID restrictions, because if it's not a diplomatic trip, you're not going to be doing it. But so he spoke in Germany, saying that the bond between the UK and Germany is just as strong as ever. And this is significant because after Brexit goes through all the way, the UK will no longer be part of the EU, obviously, and Germany is sort of seen as one of the strongest members of the EU. So this was just a show of their strength, the strength of the bond between the UK and Germany.
Right. And like we said, he did this right in the midst of his 72nd birthday. And of course, like always, the royal family gave him some social media shout outs.
Yes, they are so good at doing the social shout out, definitely exemplars of the trend. And it was nice to see everybody sort of talk to him a little bit. Of course, we didn't see any from Meghan and Harry because they don't have Instagram anymore.
No Instagram.
Yeah, I'm sure they Zoomed.
I'm sure they did. All right, before we wrap up, we have to check in our pint-sized palace, our royal kiddos. And this week, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis are helping their granny decorate virtually.
This was such a sweet story. Carol Middleton, her company Party Pieces, posted an Instagram photo of her, and she had a little note underneath it where she talked about the way that normally the kids help her decorate in real life, but this year they're going to be doing it via Zoom. And I was really surprised to see her even say this at all.
I am too. I was really surprised about it. A little glimpse into what real life is like for these kids. And, you know, like you said, they're going to be doing it via Zoom. I feel like a lot of people are going to be doing this. You know, it's just kind of the new norm this year, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, it is kind of sad. Yeah. And, you know, I guess they'll probably see her after the holidays maybe, but yeah, it's it's a weird year, obviously.
It really is, but it is cool. Like we said, she's normally super private. We never hear anything from her really. So this was kind of exciting that she gave us an inside glimpse of at what Christmas is going to look like for them this year.
Yeah, it was great. I wish we heard from her more, because whenever she does do an interview or anything, she's always really funny and sassy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I just love to hear from her.
I do too. Must be a fun granny.
Yeah.
Well, Molly, thank you so much for breaking down all things Royals with me this week.
Oh, thank you, Christina.
Of course. For much more Royals, head on over to usmagazine.com and check in on Royally Us every Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. on Us Weekly's YouTube channel. Keep commenting, keep subscribing, and Molly and I will see you next week.